Hello and welcome to another live episode of Quaid-i-Azam Union. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic that is related to pre-partition of India and Pakistan, and that is very important in a sense to understand Jinnah's views about constitution not only of Pakistan but pre-partition India, and we will also look at the viewpoint of Congress, who always tried to oppose the legitimate demands of Muslims that led to Muslim separatism in subcontinent. Apart from that, there are certain confusions in young teens who just simply read the name and they misunderstood these topics, and they don't have a background knowledge that who presented these things. So we are going to discuss Nehru report of 1928. And when we listen Nehru report, first thing comes to our mind is the image of Jawaharlal Nehru. We think that the Nehru report is presented by Jawaharlal Nehru. That isn't the case. Jawaharlal Nehru at that time was quite an immature politician and he was new into politics at that time. It was basically the report presented by his father, Motilal Nehru, and who was the prominent member at that time of Congress. So that's why it's misconception that Nehru report is being presented by Jawaharlal Nehru. No, it's Motilal Nehru that has presented Nehru report. So, what is the context of this report? In 1919, there was a constitution of India that is famously called Montagu Chelmsford Reforms that introduced diarchy in the Indian subcontinent. That constitution has a clause that after every 10 years, a commission would be set up by British Parliament, and that commission would look into the problems of this previous constitution and would formulate the new one. So in 1927, British appointed a Simon Commission under Sir Stephen Cripps and a few other members, and Sir Simon was of course, leading part of that commission. And this commission then tried to formulate a new constitution for India. And this commission has different meetings with different politicians of Muslim League, also Congress, and all the political stakeholder in Indian subcontinent. So what happened was that you are well aware of Bhagat Singh episode that Indian actually boycotted Simon Commission, that there isn't a single member of Indian subcontinent in the commission. How can a commission formulate a constitution when, of course, 100 million people are absolutely being neglected? So the commission challenged the Indians to formulate a constitution that must be based on consensus of all political stakeholders, including Muslims and Hindus. So, by taking that challenge, all parties conference was set up, and this conference then devised a committee under Motilal Nehru, and this committee then formulated a report. Few of the Muslim members were also part of that committee, but their input was absolutely nothing, and they were not taken on board. So Nehru report was presented by Motilal Nehru, and Jawahar was, of course, a member of this report, but he was quite radical at that time. He wanted to get independence from the British Empire, but this report demanded something else, that was dominion status. So Nehru report was presented in August 1928 by Motilal Nehru. It demanded dominion status for India instead of independence of India. Now, dominion is basically a semi-independent under the British Commonwealth, like New Zealand and Australia at that time, and it asked for full guarantees of fundamental rights of speech, expression, voting rights, and it called for establishment of secular state in India. That state would have no religion. Apart from that, it granted universal adult franchise for all the citizens of state. The most important was that it demanded federal form of government with limited provincial autonomy, and it rejected the Muslim demand of joint electorates. So Muslims' demand was completely thrown into the dustbin, and they were considered uh, non non element of the state. They were completely negated. They were completely rejected, and this led to alienation of Muslim because it called for joint electorate. It said that it doesn't matter who is the candidate, all the communities would vote for the candidate who they want to choose, and there would be no differentiation between seats. For example, if there is a constituency where there is a Hindu majority and Muslim minority, and if a competition occurs between a Hindu and Muslim, there would be no separation of constituent parts, and electorate would have to choose between a Hindu and Muslim on the basis of majority. So that would absolutely lead to Muslim defeat. So this point was the thorn in the cooperation between Congress and Muslim League. It also called for parliamentary system, and parliamentary system basically said that provinces would have limited autonomy but would have strong center. And it also demanded an independent judiciary. Judiciary would be the third most important pillar of the state. Apart from that, it also called for the Hindustani as a national language. Now, what is Hindustani? This was a new term used by Gandhi, that apart from referring Urdu as a national language or Hindi as a national language, there would be Hindustani, a mixture of both. And both scripts, Gurmukhi or Sanskrit or these Indian scripts, apart from that, Arabic script of Urdu would also be used as a national script. So it would be then called as Hindustani language. It would include every kind of words from both Hindi and Urdu. Now, this report has clearly neglected the demand of Muslims that was presented in Delhi Muslim proposals, that Bombay would be separated from Sindh, NWFP would be complete province. Apart from that, Balochistan would be made a province, and Muslim would be given separate electorates because Muslim cannot win an Hindu majority state. So these demand was completely thrown into trash by Congress. Now Jinnah, in the next all party meetup, Jinnah have given some suggestions to improve this Nehru report. Jinnah called that Muslim would let go the electorate, separate electorate, if we are giving one third in the central legislature, so that we have an ample majority in central legislature. Apart from that, there would be the security of minorities in the Hindu dominated provinces, and reserved seats should be given in Muslim majority provinces. So these demands were completely rejected by the Congress and all the Hindu members. So Jinnah came up with 14 points, and few points are very important, that Jinnah called for federal parliamentary structure. He called for separate Muslim electorate. He called for Urdu as an important form of cultural preservation of Muslims. He called for reservation of seats in Hindu dominated provinces. He calls for full majorities preservation in Muslim dominated Punjab, Bengal, and Sindh etc. He calls for separation of Sindh from Bombay. He called for reforms in NWFP, separation of Balochistan as a separate province, and he also called for the formation of federal court. And apart from that, he also called that one-third representation of Muslims should be in the central legislature. Of course, this was not part of 14 point, but this was important pillar of Jinnah's demand in all the next coming debates. So, what was the reaction of Nehru about this uh, these kind of reports? So, Nehru called Jinnah's 14 points as unmitigated nonsense. I don't know why he called unmitigated nonsense, because these was genuine demands for a huge portion of population. If you are rejecting the demands of huge population chunk, then what would they do? They would of course resort to some different kind of action, some different course of action, and they would demand their rights in a constitutional way, whatever they like. They have a right to separate constituent, and they have right of preservation of their rights in Muslim minority provinces. They have a right in central legislature, because if there is Hindu majority, that would mean Hindu Raj. So Quaid-i-Azam was very strict in his demand of separate electorate. He was very strict in preservation of Muslim culture. He was very strict with preservation of Muslim languages and history. And this then led to the demand of separate Muslim country after 1930s and 40s onward. Now, if we look at these 14 points, Jinnah was demanding a federal parliamentary structure, with Pakistan often resorts to a debate that what kind of political system Pakistan should have. So Pakistan, according to Jinnah, should have a parliamentary structure with strong center. But in case of India, that was dominated by Hindus, the Muslim majority provinces would be always autonomous. And that was best course of action in Hindu and Congress dominated India. So Jinnah's point was very logical. These points were extremely beneficial for Congress. If Congress had accepted these points at that time, the partition of India could have been a different at this time. Maybe there wouldn't have been any partition if Congress would have accepted these points, because Jinnah was demanding reservation of seats. Jinnah was demanding protection of Muslim culture. Jinnah was demanding protection of Muslim languages, and Congress was rejecting every demand of Jinnah. It was Congress to blame for partition. It was Congress to blame for alienation of Muslim, and it was Nehru and Gandhi to blame the neglect of Muslim communities, who were almost one third of all the subcontinent population. So if you're going to reject one third of population, then what can you expect of them? And still, the the scholarship of West, scholarship of India, always try to demonize the image of Jinnah, that Jinnah was the thorn in the establishment of a united India. No, Jinnah wasn't the thorn in establishment of united India. Jinnah even accepted the cabinet mission plan, which granted provincial autonomy, because Jinnah believed in parliamentary structure, and if parliamentary structure gave provinces autonomy, then there was no point in going toward the way of separation, the way of partition. So Jinnah was very clear in his stance that if provinces are given the autonomy in domestic affairs, and few of the affairs such as defense, foreign affair, and communication are given to center, that's okay. Center should be weak, but provincial should be given all the authorities, then India can remain united. So these demands were rejected by Congress on and again. And it was Jinnah who tried to compromise at every stage, even if it was 1916, even in 1920s. even in 1927 with Delhi Muslim proposal in 1929 with 14 points. In round table conferences, Jinnah tried to argue with Congress and British that Muslim preservation is very important for the future constitution of India. In 1937, Jinnah tried to negotiate with Congress, but all these things were rebuffed, and Jinnah has no other option but to resort to the option of partition and independence from Hindu Raj. So, if you're bent on establishing a Congress and Hindu dominated government, what would have Jinnah done? It was the best course of action of Jinnah. And I was listening a Nehru's video regarding the partition that Jinnah didn't have a role in partition, independence of India. And he said, of course, Jinnah in fact opposed partition, independence. Jinnah was the foremost proponent of Indian independence when Nehru was not even the politics. Jinnah was favoring the independence of India in early 90s, and in 1911 when Muslim League changed its constitution, Jinnah joined Muslim League also, that because Muslim League firstly was not demanding independence. Congress was demanding independence, Jinnah joined Congress. When Muslim League demanded independence, Jinnah joined Muslim League. So Jinnah was the foremost proponent of Indian independence. Jinnah was the foremost proponent of Indian rights. Jinnah was proponent of Indian inclusion in civil services. Jinnah was proponent of Indian inclusion in military services. It was Jinnah who called for the establishment of Sandhurst Military Academy. So I think all the scholarship of India who is bent on demonizing Jinnah must reassess their approach toward studying Jinnah, because at every stage Jinnah tried to reach a compromise, but Congress always rejected. So, and few of the communal clashes that occurred in 1947 are blamed on Jinnah. It was Gandhi who inserted religion into politics. It was Gandhi. Jinnah called Gandhi in 1920s and asked him to keep religion out of politics. Don't play Hindus off against each other, Hindus and Muslim off against each other. But Gandhi, was trying to popularize himself. Gandhi was doing uh, things that could, make him the sole leader of all India. So he used religion. And Jinnah, that's why left Congress, because Congress was using religion at that time. So the 14 points were the basic feature of Jinnah idea about not only Indian independence but future constitution of Pakistan that would be based on the center and province relations in coordination with provinces in domestic autonomy, center of course strong in terms of defense and foreign affairs. And now Pakistan is becoming a single identity, and Pakistan must resort to, rather than provinces, into local administrative units. Pakistan is becoming a nation in terms of cross-cultural marriages, cross-cultural experiments, and cities are merging, cities are merging. So Pakistan has become a single identity. Everyone is becoming Pakistani. So Pakistan need a center that is strong in defense and foreign affairs and tax collection, and other affairs should be delegated to local governments that are chosen by people. So I think it was all about Nehru report and Jinnah's 14 points. Nehru report and Jinnah's 14 point was the place of parting of ways. When these were rejected, Jinnah called it parting of ways, and there was famous uh, quotation from Jinnah. So it was all on Congress that they always tried to alienate Muslim, and these alienation then, led to the creation of a separate Muslim identity, and that translated into creation of Pakistan in 1947. Thank you and take care. Allah Hafiz.